Nora, you have spoken about your work as having contingent or unexpected points of departure. So I'm wondering what the point of departure is for this show.
So in this case, yeah, when I mentioned that there are unexpected points of departure, I guess that's where like the autobiographical aspects come into play. So for instance, both of the staircases that you can see here are the double staircase of the house where I live now, which is a home built in the 16th century where only women were living there, either because they were widows or they were unmarried or for different reasons. And it's a very specific staircase because one of the basic rules of a staircase, like formally or structurally, is that every step has to have the same size, because there is like a body memory that is built in every step. So your memory, it's recording the distance unconsciously, but then in this case, every step is different. So that means that your body either has to adapt to the form, and this is something that really intrigues me, like how form, well, not only form, but the relationship between ornament and function. But when talking about like functional things like a staircase, I'm placing them here out of their function, right? Like maybe presenting them by the perspective that I'm interested in, like how, I don't know, my body got used to see this perspective like every morning or every day when I'm going up and down. So basically, by not following the basic rules of the function, it makes the body fall, or it's really easy that you might fall unless you learn how to place your feet every time. So yeah, in this case, I've been obsessed with the staircase for a long time, but I didn't choose this house. It's part of the residency house. So it turned out that the house where I lived in it has a double staircase, which I was researching already. And then on the other side, there are like these tiny holes along the floor that I noticed them as soon as I got here. You can also see them on the poles, like they're everywhere. And these are the kind of marks that we are constantly asked to erase or cover whenever we moved from houses or we leave a space. And for me, well, it represents many things, but it was interesting for me to not erase the history of the space. So in a way, both of the works are related to space and architecture, but also with the body, which are things that are really important in my practice. And so it's about like maybe paying attention to what's already there. And for a long time, I've been wanting to work with subtraction rather than addition of material. And this just happened to be in this studio. There are different silicone molds in the room. There are molds of rings related to a previous project where I casted rings in bronze, and I was welding them, and I would put them on plasterboards. So that was like a whole installation, and when they've been displayed in several occasions in museums, some of the rings have been stolen. So then the institution would send me these pictures of the holes that these rings that were attached on the wall would leave, which were really particular marks. And that's how my obsession with holes started, and I guess that's what informed my interest to work with marks that were already in this space.
What brought you to architecture?
I think it's again like something like really biographical, because like my father is an architect, my brother as well, his wife. So it's been something that has been always at home, like books or either like trips that we would do as holidays. They were often marked by, you know, let's go visit this architect or this and that building. And although I was like not particularly interested when I was younger, when I had to choose what to study, I was doubting in between interior design or fine arts. And I did start with interior design, but then I quit. It was not for me, it was like too rigid. The pedagogy was, I couldn't really digest it properly. I needed more freedom. And it's been, I don't know, I wouldn't say that immediately when I started my practice it was something that was really present. I think it's been something that built up through time, and more now I'm conscious of it, how usually I depart from objects that are related to architecture, because it's this object that mediates, like furniture for instance, because it's this thing that mediates between the body and the space, that not only organizes the space but also shapes the body ephemerally. So I think, yeah, that's it.
You seem to be interested in a particular power dynamic between architecture and the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only architecture, but in general form. So how form is deciding like how we move in space, how we behave, how many people are allowed to be together. Like for example, like, I don't know, if we look at domestic spaces, the size of beds or sofas, or that's already determining like a type of co-living, a type of family system, a type of like couple dynamic, for instance. So this also links with like a previous study that I did while I was studying fine arts, which was sexology. So in a way I really like looking into the intimate sphere of human interactions and emotions. And although maybe in the work per se doesn't appear, it's something that guides my practice and my research.
And that's interesting. How has there always been a personal or autoethnographic approach in your practice?
Has
there always been one?
Always been. I think it was when I moved to London that I started incorporating it consciously, because it was the first time studying the masters that I was asked to write a dissertation, and I wanted to guide a workshop. I used to guide some workshops, like touch-based workshops, before moving to London, not as an art practice, but like as a side. And then it was important for me to use the experience of people, of tactility, to guide this research on falling, actually, which now comes back through the staircase. But back then it was research on how language shapes experience, if it does, because in English and French there is the verb to fall related to love, so falling in love, or tomber amoureux. But in Basque or Spanish or other languages that I have around, there is no fall related to love. No? So I was like guiding workshops, so proposing spaces in which experience can happen, to explore all these things, not only formally or through sculpture, but also through writing and other forms. And in this case also we did several, we did a 3-day workshop on falling. In this case it was not related to love at all, it was like purely physical fall, where one of the premises was if we are not in a constant state of falling, there is a constant negotiation with gravity, like our bodies are holding to not fall. So instead of an exception or an event, to understand it as a something that is already happening. And that was like a 3-day workshop, and I was working on a performance for Open Studios as well, but at the end I think I will present it later.
And there's a performance element to your practice here as well?
So it won't be presented during these days, but it's an ongoing research. And in most of my works, it's something that maybe is less visible, but it always happens in parallel, because it allows me to expand my research on sculpture through bodies and other people. Like, it's really important for me to be in dialogue with other artists, and this allows me to think with others as well.
To really think about the way that we interact with the spaces that you kind of create.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it is for me, it's like bringing the domestic but becoming like something fictionate as well. Like, it is a replica. It is a replica, and casting also, it's a really common practice. So like this transference of reality occurs many times, but by placing them as they are, or like attaching them to the wall, the function is erased. And my desire is also that people can relate to them, not necessarily by immediately identifying what they are, but that something happens, something else happens that opens more than closing.